Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Tablas Creek Wednesday Instagram live broadcast. I'm Jason Haas, as always. So my guest this week is Raj Parr, sommelier, author, winemaker, viticulturist, man of many talents. So I am incredibly excited to have Raj join me. As I typically do, though, while everyone signs on, I want to share a few updates and a few pictures about what we're doing at the winery. So I'll start with the vineyard. The main thing that we're doing now is getting the vineyard cleaned up from its winter woolly grassy coat. So you can see this picture of our Scruffy Hill block, which is a head-trained dry farm block, which we have started turning that cover crop under so it can decompose and become a part of the soil and also not compete with the vines themselves. So a couple other pictures of where we are in the middle of that. You can see on this one, we cross-cultivate, so the left half of this block has been cultivated two ways. The right half was as far as we got to yesterday. So we've cultivated down the hill, but or across the hill, but haven't cultivated back up. This is also a good spot to check out what the different grape varieties look like at this time of year. We are still in the middle of bud break, so I'll start with Grenache, which is the most exuberant, the furthest out, greenest, longest shoots at this point. I absolutely love this photo. I love the kind of girth and gnarled density of that vine. But compare that to, say, Mourvedre, which is really barely out at all. There are little buds you can see if you look closely on the canes, but minimal. And then compare that with Syrah, which is out in between the two, not as far as Grenache, but further than a Mourvedre. You can also see the different way that we kind of train the Syrah up higher because its shoots grow out horizontally, so it needs to be lifted higher so that the shoots coming out horizontally don't trail on the ground. A couple other pictures to share with you. In the cellar, we're working on our blending trials. That's going to be next week's work. We'll sit down with all of the red lots we have from 2020 and try to make sense out of them. Whites came out really well 4 weeks ago. Reds are on tap next. And you can see what the cellar looks like. Basically, barrels down as we get into the kind of barrel by barrel decisions. And then beyond that, in the tasting room, we are in the beginning stages of a renovation project where we do not yet have permission to go back inside. But we love the experience we've been able to give people seated outside so much that we're going to be converting the tasting bars to being seated bars for seated tasting. So imagine it like a sushi bar where you come in, you sit down, you have your seat. We'll be able to offer the wines in flights. And I think having the opportunity to bring that experience that we've enjoyed so much inside, and giving people the choice is going to be kind of the best of all possible worlds. So anyway, stay tuned for that. We don't expect to be done with that until probably the end of May. But when we get to June, we should be up to go inside and out. Okay, now stop sharing. I am going to invite Raj to join me. I saw him. Yes, excellent. Raj. Go live. Cool. There's so many pieces of this conversation that I'm looking forward to. Hey, Raj, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. You look like you're in a car somewhere.
Yeah, I came out to Santa Maria. I'm helping a vineyard here, just do some grafting. I'm helping them graft some Italian varieties here in Santa Maria. So today we are doing some Vermentino and some Arnase, and yeah, so
Big fan of
that's
Vermentino in the Central Coast. I think it has such good potential here.
yeah, so that's what's happening. How are you?
Good. Finally sunny. It was kind of foggy here, which is pretty rare. Even in the morning, it's hardly ever foggy up at 1,500 feet where we are. And so driving out here and realizing that it was still sucked in at 9 this morning, and then realizing it was still sucked in at 10 and at 11. Finally, the sun broke out about 20 minutes ago.
Oh, good. Yeah, I left home like in Cambria. It was pretty deep in fog at 9 a.m. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to burn off today. I feel like on the coast, this is like May gray or June gloom, but in April.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, because I mean we have like full on like leaves. Sorry, in Chardonnay, but like Sauvignon and Mondos haven't really pushed much. So we'll see. It's very interesting to see how things when you have you have so many. How many varieties do you have planted?
19.
Well, 19, and yeah, we so far have 14 in 11 and a half acres.
It's amazing. Okay, we're starting in the middle here, though. So the way that I always like to ask everyone to start is just to talk about your path into wine. When did you first discover wine, and how did that look? What were your thoughts when you did?
Yeah, so I was born in Calcutta, and I had some wines with my uncle when I was 20 in the UK, and that's how I kind of got interested. Then I went to culinary school in Hyde Park, New York, and had a wine class. Got super interested. Then decided I want to be a sommelier. So then I moved to San Francisco, luckily to work under Larry Stone. Started as a food runner, just started to study wine and read and travel, and just got deep into Burgundy early on, and that's how it all started. And then after I worked harvest at Calera in '97 with Josh Jensen, and then just through a friend of mine, I kind of like got intrigued to make a little wine, bought some grapes starting in '04, first vintage. And then just slowly kind of, then I met Sashi Moorman, and this is going to be our 15th vintage together, believe it or not. It's crazy. And just kind of like, just slowly kind of, left the restaurant world, which I was deeply attached to for 18 years.
Yeah.
And then started to make wine, and then last year in the pandemic, I decided that I got to be all in, and I leased a vineyard in Cambria. We had worked with the vineyard already, and I've been grafting wines there since 2017, and finally I leased it myself starting this year, and I'm farming it just me, and I have one guy in the vineyard helping me, and that's pretty much just been doing that every day and loving life.
So at this point, are you fully out of the restaurant world?
Yeah, I still help some restaurants kind of, but I'm no longer in any, I don't work the floor, or, I still help 2 restaurants and some friends of mine, but that's it. But I'm out of the restaurant business, yes.
And so you have vineyards that you work with Sashi in Santa Barbara County and up in Oregon.
Yeah.
How did you choose to focus on those places initially?
So it all started when I met Sashi. We started to plant some vineyards in Santa Rita Hills, and then we started Sandhi together in 2009. And that's how it all started. And I love Pinot Noir. He loved Pinot Noir.
Right.
We love Chardonnay, so we focus only on those varieties. And then Evening Land came around. We took that over in 2014. So stuck with Chardonnay and Pinot, and made that our lives. And so I work with him on Sandhi, Domaine de la Côte, and Evening Land. Yeah.
And those are all, in one way or another, those are all sort of Burgundy adjacent in terms of the ideas, in terms of the varieties. That's not the model you're looking at for that vineyard in Cambria, though, right? This is something new.
Yeah, Cambria is totally different. After going to France a lot and going to Burgundy a lot, always, I fell in love with the Jura maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, and the Savoie and different things. And I thought I'll have a vineyard where I'll have all my favorite varieties planted and kind of, follow the path that you guys setting up and use animals and do the best I can by myself. We don't have a team; it's just me and Abad in the vineyard. There, we are the only ones doing everything, and you know, we have like 5 sheep. I got two Maremma dogs. I got 30 chickens and kind of rotate them and kind of learn how to kind of work with them. And it's been in no-till since the beginning and since '07. So, just learning, teaching myself how to kind of, my visit to Tablas Creek, my mind was blown of what you guys do there. It was like, it's insane. So that's an aspiration for sure. But for now, it's just me, myself. So I can only do things slowly and learn from you guys. I can't wait to come back and visit and learn, what more I can do from what you guys are doing.
You're going to add shepherd as your next position.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I should, right? I did raise a little lamb in my house from 6 days old. So, and he successfully joined the pack. So yeah.
That's amazing. So, what are the grapes that you're focusing on? Are they all like Jura and Savoie grapes in that vineyard in Cambria?
Yeah, so there was already Chardonnay and Pinot there. I have a little bit, a half an acre of a pink skin Chardonnay, a mutation of Chardonnay from the Jura. And then I have a field blend of Trousseau, Mencia, Palomino, Garnacha Tintorera, and Mission. So that's one wine. And then the second vineyard is Pinot Noir, Gamay, and Montos, and that'll be one wine. And then the third vineyard is Sauvignon Vert, Sauvignon Jean, and Pulsard, and that'll be two different wines. And then the last parcel is Mondus, and then I have a little bit of Altes and Jacquer, and I'm going to grab some Granger next year, so I'll have a white Savoie wine and then a 100% Mondus.
That's so cool. I cannot wait to try those. Is there a specific vineyard that you haven't, or a specific wine that you have in mind that you're using as an inspiration in putting these together?
Yeah, they all have had inspiration. So the kind of Ribera Sacra inspired wine, that is an inspiration of a wine called Mistorado that Envinate, they make a wine which is a kind of a similar kind of field blend. The Gamay Mondos Pinot is a wine inspired by a producer called Jacques Maillet, who retired, and now the quartet, they make it. So they make a wine called Autrement. So I asked their permission if I can use the same name for my version here. And then the Sauvignon and the Pulsar will just be single variety wines. And then the Mondos with single variety. And then the Savoie blend is, it's just going to be a white blend. So, yeah.
Super cool. So what would you say the most surprising or most interesting or hardest or most fun piece of transitioning from the restaurant world to the winery, the vineyard and winery world has been?
The work is equally difficult in both cases, for sure. The appreciation is for people who end up drink the wine, taste the wine. It's hard to tell them what the work is, because as most people, even me, think that, the grapes are grown and somehow someone grows it, and we forget that how hard it is to keep the vine from all disease pressure, if and some have more than or less, and then how to finally kind of bottle it and have your own imprint on it. It's the whole journey is hard. In a restaurant, you do the same thing as a wine list. You judge the wine list. Does he have this wine, that wine, pricing? So there's judgment on both sides. but the work put in and the decisions, as you know, it's much more humbling, in because Mother Nature is very forgiving, but Mother Nature is also harsh.
Yeah.
So you can't take it, can't take for granted. These things, I know, but I'm just repeating, what I've learned in the restaurant world. You sometimes have a little bit more control on your service and yourself and the wine you recommend. In with Mother Nature, it's a humbling and amazing process. I every day, look forward to seeing what's next.
It was really interesting for me to watch my dad go through this process because, of course, he was an importer for 40 years and then started Tablas Creek as something of a retirement project. And
Yeah.
just watching the pride that he had in every little piece of the process, like getting that first batch to ferment. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that was like for him, that was like he had this huge grin on his face the entire first couple of harvests. And really the last thing that he wanted to do was, or rather, the thing that he wanted to keep doing, even as there were pieces of the business that he wanted to hand off to me or other things that he was just done with, he wanted to be the one driving the forklift around the cellar. He wanted to be there as the barrels first got those yeasts up and going and first started to smell like they were fermenting. And he wanted to be there around the blending table as we took those finished lots and then turned them into the wines that we would come to know. And I think it's different making something that's yours compared to representing something that you really love that's the result of somebody else's work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I totally agree. I mean, I was lucky to meet him a few times and share a few glasses of, he loved, he brought in some of the greatest wines, and I was lucky to meet him a few times at events and tastings. And of course, I got to know Danny very well, and I haven't spoken to him probably for over a year, but we've shared so many great bottles, and so I have a deep connection with your family, and I in my restaurant days, I used to try to have Tablas Creek on all the wine lists I was a part of,
Thank
even
you.
though I only visited just recently. But and of course, I'm very good friends with Mark Perrin and the book itself. Not the whole family. Mark is someone I've
Right.
known for many years, also because of the connection with Vineyard Brands. It's really great to be a neighbor of yours and really look up to something. What you do is it's such a different level. It's hard to even put in perspective of the work that's happening at Tablas Creek. So pretty amazing.
Thank you. I mean, it is like anything else. It's the culmination of a whole bunch of little steps. I mean, it didn't spring fully formed looking like this from anyone's imagination. It's just every season trying to figure out what more we can do, like what more we can do to be consistent to our belief of trying to make this farm as complete and compelling as we can and make grapes that reflect this place the best that they can. I mean, I just rediscovered the first picture of our flock that we have with Sean Dugan, who was like our kind of do everything jack of all trades, helping the tasting room, helping the vineyard, helping the cellar. It's him literally holding a shepherd's crook and 10 sheep. Like that was the beginning of the flock in 2012, and it's grown from there to what it is now. So you say you've got 5 sheep, but like 5 sheep turns into 200 sheep faster than you think.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get 3 more this summer, so I think I can maybe hopefully manage a dozen by myself, and we'll see what happens after that.
Super cool. So how did you find this vineyard in Cambria? Because I think people probably know your work at Sandy and know your work at Domaine de la Côte and know your work at Evening Land, but maybe don't think of Cambria as a place where grape growing is a major thing. So how did you discover it?
Yeah, so Greg Phelan, whose family owns this ranch, it's called the Phelan Ranch, and he sold us grapes for Sandy, and we used to use a little bit of the grapes for our Sandy wines, a small percentage into the blend. And then in 2017, I asked him. I said, "Greg, would you be open to if I bring some cuttings from special places? Would you be open to me grafting?" And he's like, "Sure, what do you want?" So then I started dividing my head, like, what should I get? And then I kind of mapped the vineyards out, did some very basic soil analysis, and kind of spoke to some growers in Europe, and kind of figured out what the plan was. And I did all this very quietly. It wasn't like something, it was a slow, and I started with just grafting, 2 rows and seeing how it grows, and then, save the cuttings and go and graft again 2 more rows and 6 more rows. And so it happened over 17 to now to 19, 21. We still haven't finished the full graft, but it's still kind of building it out. And Greg Phelan's family homestead here in 1851, and with the way the weather patterns have been, I mean, I knew that these varieties will do well here, because of no irrigation needed during the growing season. The vineyards are above creeks. There's water flowing through the creeks all the way into July. And always, I mean, even our lows even now are in the 40s, and we haven't had a day above 72 this year. So things like that, which kind of knew these varieties would kind of work in. And we picked a little bit of Mondos and Mencia on October 26th at a potential alcohol of 11 and a half. So then I was like, okay, I know we can kind of, barely ripen it here, and
Yep.
give it a shot. And because last year we didn't really play with any of the yields, we just like letting it go, and just kind of seeing what happens. And now we know, what corrections they have to make this year, and then just adjust every year. And Greg has been just a great partner. I signed a longish lease with him, and we've done everything what we thought it ahead. So far we are just the vineyard was in good shape, and now with the animals in there, and just trying to understand the mildew pressure, and understanding how to revitalize the soil with some biodynamic preps, and using milk as our spray for mildew protection, and trying to kind of use some stuff we have, some kelp and some seawater from the ocean, and some turmeric and ginger, and some fenugreek and nettles and things we have around us,
Yeah.
and using all that to kind of start a little lactoferment, and kind of bring back some microbes in the soil, and in the foliage, and kind of learn and see slowly, build our compost pile from scratch this year. I came to see Jordan, and he showed us, and so we're renting a chipper today. We're going to chip all the wood, and we have the ranch already has 100 head of cattle. So as they've been eating all the grass, now I've collected all the manure. So it's baby steps, just slowly teaching myself of how this way of life is, because it's definitely very different than, as sitting in a restaurant floor and managing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, talking about manure and mildew and insects, it's a long way from fine dining, and
Yeah.
yet it underpins everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How,
Absolutely.
how much rain did you get in that massive storm in January out at the ranch?
So we got 16 inches in 48 hours, and every bit of it was saved. It flooded half one of the vineyards, and the creeks were 4 feet. I couldn't cross the creek to get in for a week. And Jack from Stepladder was sending me photos from the top of so that's what's going on there. So luckily Abad was in there, so I got him some. We got him. He had enough food there, so he was there with the animals, feeding the animals, and I was the other side, handing him stuff. And it was it was I think so far we've got 25 inches maybe, and we've just right now the cover crop is pretty good, and and we were just thinking of when to mow it. So
Right.
I think that was the next week's plan to mow it in, and yeah,
So you're at the same stage basically as we are. We're
yeah,
basically
yeah,
started to knock down the cover crop in the places where it's deep enough that we feel good about that, where we, since we really can't have the sheep in the vineyard anymore at this point because everything's in bud break.
yeah,
So it's time to get it turned in, time to let that decomposition happen, and
yeah,
time to preserve the water that's in the soil so that it's not being sucked out by all of those grass roots.
yeah. That's exactly what our plan was next week, and just so I follow you guys on Instagram, so it's always fun to see what's happening there. So it's as a crow flies, it's so close.
So close. Yeah, we that big storm, like 16 inches is bonkers. I mean, we had 12 and a half here. It was the largest storm that we've ever had. I mean, since
Yeah,
we bought the property, well, I don't know, since we started our weather station in 1996, it's the largest storm we've ever had by like 3 inches. So it was a big deal, and I'm grateful for it because the rest of the winter was pretty dry. So
yeah,
I'm grateful for every drop we got.
absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Cool. So I'm not sure if you can hear it. We have Vandenberg is
Oh,
sending their jets overhead to practice. So if you can hear
nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you can hear the jet engines, that's what.
All
Uh,
good.
so I know for one of the things that you were involved in for a long time was the In Pursuit of Balance group and tastings. Um, is that sort of a through line that connects what you did in the restaurant world and what you're doing now in the winery world? Is it wines of balance that you think connects all of the pieces?
I think so. I think that's been my mantra in life, and always something I've tried to achieve. I'm not sure how successful I've been, but initially starting with Jasmine Hirsch, we started talking more about Chardonnay and Pinot, and now kind of taking a whole circle into the vineyard and farming. That's what we try to achieve in the vineyard, and that's what everything I've read and talked to people, and is to find that balance. My goal in the vineyard, in the restaurant, in the wines we made initially was to kind of keep everything intact, and maybe it was taken out of context in some cases because of alcohol plays a part in it, and some varieties you cannot keep in that realm, and but the idea, and I think if there was ever an IPOB of the future, I'm not something I will do, but it would be like to really take the farming aspect to the next level, to really kind of bring back and kind of say no to herbicides and say no to the industrial farming, and if there was ever a platform and to kind of celebrate what you're doing with the regenerative organic certification, you know, if there was another step forward for California winemakers and any winemaker from anywhere, just to kind of think about what and how to achieve that balance in the vineyard with, and in your case, or with animals, and once you understand how it works, it's pretty magical.
It really is. I mean, honestly, I think that's the thing that helps people wrap their heads around it is realizing that an ecosystem should naturally be in balance. You have plants, but you have a diversity of plants. You have insects that each rely on those different plants. You've got animals that rely on the different plants. You've got the microbes that are created by all of them, and together they make an ecosystem which is self-regulating. And so I think that's the thing that helps people understand how biodynamics and how regenerative organics is such an important thing for a farm, is that you're essentially restoring that balance between the different elements that you lose in a monoculture. That kind of industrial farming, industrial agriculture piece where you have one plant in your farm and you're giving it just the handful of nutrients that it needs and just the amount of water that it needs at a very specific time. And that's a very naturally just a brittle system. And restoring that balance has benefits beyond just that. Yes, your vineyard or whatever, your farm unit looks prettier and you are healthier in it. It has all of these benefits that you don't see going on under the soil, because what you have is a real diversity of life.
Yeah. Amazing.
Okay, one last question before we go. It's been half an hour, which flew by.
Amazing.
What gets you really excited now? What are you most excited by in what you're doing?
Just doing it every day is exciting. To wake up, to see something new, and to kind of also knowing that there are people I can reach out to in doing this. I'm going to reach out to you more often now. Reach out. I speak to Nate Reddy quite a bit up in Oregon, and many other people, and to know there's other people who've led the way. So I kind of, want to learn every day and kind of reach out to peers and friends and kind of ask questions and it's a small enough place, 11 and a half acres, to kind of manage. It's, without having, a team, you can still be fully hands-on, and I love it. I love it when, to see all these things and to build very small things and just see an owl in the owl box, or see there's bees in the vineyard, and what I've still learned from Jordan how to catch those bees, but so that's another whole different story. But yeah, just and the animals, it's exciting. It's just see how Mother Nature just gives you everything she has, and you just gotta follow her.
And if people wanna follow that journey with you, is there an easy way for them to do it? Should they follow you on Instagram? Where do you share what you're exploring and learning?
Yeah, I share some on my own Raj Parr Instagram. Also, Field and Farms has an Instagram, and I kind of post some stuff there also. And this is going to be our first vintage, so it's going to be as you know, my job is to keep the vines intact and hope for the best, and hopefully make the wine in a very simple way. And Field and Farms, and then Raj Parr. Both. Field and Farms has more on the post, and Raj Parr have more on the story. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm incredibly excited to have you as a neighbor, and on this journey that we're all taking, and really appreciate you taking half an hour out of your Wednesday to come and talk with me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's really, really an honor. I'll hit you up soon to come chat with you more and get some more knowledge from you.
It would be my pleasure and my honor.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. And
thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who joined us today. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. So we'll see you then. So
thanks, Raj. Thank you.